All right. Well, that took a little bit longer than normal today. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Kickstart to a Kick Ass Week. It's going to be amazing today. Now, look, we've got a little bit different setup right off the bat. For all of you who are joining us, first off, my apologies for a little bit of a late start. We seem to have the fire alarm company in who is setting up the rest of our fire alarm system so that we can open up the brand new side of our business next door. So we're really excited about that. And so while he's over there, they moved me in here. So we're going to be doing our session live, kind of like we would do a podcast normally, but this is going to be fun. Thanks everybody for joining us, and let's kick this off. So once again, my name is Roger. I am a local Kansas City public speaker, realtor, entrepreneur, business owner. I am a co-owner and partner of Sunwest Real Estate Advisors here in Overland Park. I have been in the real estate industry for on and off for 20 years between New York City and Kansas City. A lot of different opportunities for education between those two. And then on top of that, I spent about 12 years in the education industry, both running colleges and universities, and then also on top of that, selling to colleges and universities after my tenure was done. So a lot of different experience with a lot of people. I've had blessed opportunities to work with folks. Thousands and thousands of people. And so now, flash forward to where I've kind of been solo on my own for quite a while now, about 3 years. And it's now, I feel like it's time for me to go ahead and I want to get back. I want to get back to working with folks. I want to get back to reaching out and talking to folks like you. So thanks for joining us, and let's get moving forward on it. So last week we talked about our why. We talked about finding our why, right? What is it that drives us? What's our purpose? Because without a why, you really don't have a foundation. You don't have a means to move forward. So the thing that we talked about last week was identifying your why so that then you can identify what those goals are that you need to achieve. All right, great. So if you didn't have a chance to do that, go back, watch last week's episode from last Monday, and catch up on that, right? So let's go back, do that, and then watch this one. But in the meantime, what's your why? What's your passion? What's your drive? Why are you doing it? And what's your goal? So we're going to talk a little bit today about two different concepts in regards to this. Number one, we're going to talk about the concept of what if I do? What if I do? David Goggins. Everybody knows David Goggins. If you don't know David Goggins, look up David Goggins. This man is absolutely incredible. This guy he helped change my life. Obviously, without knowing it, this man don't know me. But just by listening to his message and his books, and the guy just thinks different. He's an animal. Just an animal. So if you haven't had a chance to learn about David Goggins, know who he is, get to know him. But there was a concept that he talked about, and the concept is very simple. It's three words. It's it, just three words. What what if I do? Four words. What if I do? And that quick little phrase, what if I do, can change your life. It can change your life. We all know what we all know what happens if we don't. We all know what happens if we don't push forward. We all know what happens if we don't take it to the next level. We know what happens if we don't try that extra mile. We don't go that extra mile, push that extra step, however you want to phrase it. We know what happens if we don't. The question is, what happens if we do? What happens if you do, huh? Those are the things that you don't know. And the only way to find out is through discipline and through motivation. So I found out about David Goggins when I was pretty deep into bodybuilding. And my wife and I were bodybuilders for a little while, competed in NPC. My wife was bikini competitor on the NPC level, and I think she won and qualified for national, or qualified to compete for nationals. So, myself, I was a men's physique. I competed in the masters division because I'm a little bit older. So I competed in the masters division. And the first time around I did it, and I had great success, and I was really excited. But I wasn't 100%. I didn't stick to my diet 100%. I didn't stick to my plan 100%. There are a lot of things that I didn't do 100%. And so what happened was when I got there, yeah, I ended up ultimately winning my two divisions in masters, but I didn't stand a chance when it came up to those that were younger than me because I didn't put everything into it. And obviously, for somebody who, at the time, I mean, I was over 40, trying to compete with kids in your 20s that are in their 20s, that's a lot different. Body type, testosterone, everything's a lot different. So I didn't put it in 100%. And I wanted to give it one more round. I wanted to give it one more shot because for me, that wasn't acceptable. That wasn't okay. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me, how is it that I drive myself to get there? How is it that I drive myself to do this 100%? And that's when one morning I was scrolling through and I came across David Goggins. And David Goggins had said this quote, this quotation of "what if I do?" Those four words, what if I do? And that's when it clicked. And it's like, God dang, what if I do? What does that look like? What does that look like? You want to know what that looks like? Go to my page, check it out. You'll see exactly what that looks like. Because every day, every hour, I kept that quotation in my head. I kept it there because that's what kept me going. What if I do? And so every single day, for over a year, well over a year, I was 100%. There were no questions about it. There were no whys. I had a why. I had my why. But there was no, why am I doing this? I'm like, I didn't complain about it because I had my why. What if I do? And for the first time, and I've done a lot of things. I've done more in my life than probably, I mean, hell, I could probably have 4 or 5 different lifetimes at this point, just based upon all the different things I've done. And you know what? It's awesome. But the one thing that I've never done something 100% until then. I can say it. I've given 98%, 99%, but god dang, I don't think I had ever given 100 absolute percent to something until then. And it was simply because of the question, what if I do? Every day I went to the gym. It didn't matter if it was 10 a.m. It didn't matter if it was 6 a.m., 4 a.m. It didn't matter if it was midnight. It didn't matter. Every meal, every ounce of rice, every ounce of beef, every ounce of chicken, didn't matter. Gone. Why? Had to be. What if I do? I had to ask myself that question and I had to find the answer out. What if I do? And that's what I challenge you to do today. I challenge you, all of you, to ask yourself that question. What if I do? Because it's a scary question. It's a scary question. 100%. Do you know what it's like to truly give 100% to something? If you don't, you should try. 100%. What if I do? Now, I know for me, the results of that, 100%. I went back. I won my master's competitions piece of again, those divisions. I won those. But I couldn't quite, I didn't get my first overall. And a very good friend of mine is the one who beat me out. And that's okay. And it was only okay because I knew that I had given it my 100% all. Had I not given it 100%, it would have been defeating. It would have been defeating. Because at the end of the day, I'm not one of those people who really, I enjoy competition. I like competing against other people. It drives me. It's fantastic. It's awesome. But my truest competition is against myself. That's who I'm really competing against day in, day out. It's not anybody else that's out there. It's me, just me. So what if I do? And I did. And you know what? I mean, hey, I beat out the look that I had the year before that. I got down even further in terms of weight simply because I was able to cut more, build a little more, had a sleeker look, a leaner look. Posing was better. It was great. What if I do? And so I challenge you. What if I do? Ask yourself that question. And then, like we talked about last week, and we touched on reverse engineering, and this goes hand in hand with it. I mean, you've got to reverse engineer what it is that you need to do in order to be successful. Okay, so what if I do? We're good. We understand that. Reverse engineer it. Find your goal, okay? Find the goal, reverse engineer it, and then hold yourself to it. What if I do? Now, when I say reverse engineer, what are we talking about? Okay, again, we touched on it last week. We'll touch on it again real fast. Reverse engineering. You set your goal and you go backwards, right? You don't start at the beginning. Well, I'm going to make a bunch of phone calls. And once I make a bunch of phone calls, then hopefully so many people will pick up and then I'll schedule so many people and yada. No, you got to reverse engineer. You find your goal and you go backwards. So you get your goal. Let's say you want to let's say we're in education, right? We'll talk education. Back in the day when we were doing higher ed, for-profit admissions, right? We were talking back then about student enrollments. Okay, how many students? So in order to get new student applications, new students to come in, we would need to set up X amount of appointments because you knew that appointments converted at 10%. Right? So you get a 10% conversion rate on your appointments to a final close. Great. Now you got to reverse engineer that back. And I forget what the exact numbers were, but you have to figure out within your own industry what that comes down to. But you reverse engineer it back. Then how many, and you need so many appointments in order to close so many to get to your final goal. Well, all right, well, how many schedules do you have to make sure that you have that many that show up? Because we all know that people don't show up. That's just human nature. People don't show up by nature. So how many do you have to schedule in order to get to your appointments? And then you go back before that. How many phone calls do you have to make? How many outreaches do you have to have? How many touch points do you have to have in order to schedule those appointments, right? This is all basic business sales 101. But when I say it's not just sales, for everything. Let's say you're growing a business and you just want to make sure that people know about what it is that you're doing and the new business that you have. You still need to go about this type of a process. You need to make so many phone calls in order to get so many people on the phone, in order to have so many conversations, in order to actually invite them or get to a point where you can invite them to have another conversation where they invite you to have a conversation. So reverse engineer it. Find your goal, go backwards. All right. What if I do? Then hold yourself accountable to every one of those steps along the way. Hold yourself accountable to it. And if you can't hold yourself accountable to it, then find somebody who can. We all need somebody to help us out with accountability. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO. It doesn't matter if you're the head of the board of trustees. It don't matter. Everybody needs accountability. And that's why even the richest of people, the most wealthy of individuals, because there's a big difference between being rich and being wealthy, right? Rich, people get rich and then people go broke. But if you're wealthy, totally different ballgame. Totally different ballgame. So the wealthy, right, they set those goals and they keep driving towards them. Right? Passion. That's going to lead us to number 2 now. So we talked about what if I do, which led us into reverse engineering. Let's talk a little bit about the 3 Ps. And this is something that, again, we touched on last week, but it's something that I will continue to go back to throughout all of our conversations because that's just how important I think it is. When you're talking about passion, persistence, and perseverance, those 3 things. And again, we're going to tie this back into what if I do. So you've got to find something that you're passionate about. We've talked about this. You've got to find your why. That's all part of it. Your why, your passion. Find something that you want to walk into the office to every single day. I got up this morning after a Chiefs game last night, which kept me up extra late because, of course, they drug it out. They should have beaten them up. Game should have been done well beforehand, but had to stay up to the end. So dragging my butt out of bed this morning was, of course, miserable, but had to do it, and I was excited to do it. I still wanted to get up. I still wanted to go. Why? So I could be here with you. I have a passion for that. I found my why. Find yours. Find your why. Passion. Number 2, persistence. Persistence. Persistence and perseverance. They sound very similar, right? But they're different. There is a difference. Persistence is more of an action. It's an action. If you're persistent, you're just pecking, right? You're just constantly pecking. And that's great because you're persistent at it. Chihuahuas can be persistent. But perseverance, that's that next step. You've got to have the persistence. You've got to have the persistence in order to truly persevere. But perseverance is a mindset. And therein lies the difference. One is an action. The other is a mindset. The 3 Ps. And this is something that I've preached about for 20 years. Passion, persistence, perseverance. Find your why. At the end of the day, what this will do, if you put all of these pieces together, and you truly, truly, truly do hold yourself accountable to the what if I do piece, you will find that your relationships in all of the areas that you apply this will grow. And in so doing, your business will too. We're in a different era now. For a long time, things were very, very transactional. It's not how it goes anymore. It's not about transactions. You've got to build relationships. And the only way to do that, and be successful within your business by doing that, is to truly believe in what you're doing. If you don't, do something different. Find your passion, find your why, reverse engineer, set up your steps, get passionate, be persistent, persevere it, find somebody to hold you accountable if you can't do it yourself. So really you can't, because none of us can. That's why we're here. Find somebody to hold you accountable, and the rest of it will fall into place. Leave your comments below. Hey, again, I thank you all for coming today. I'm sorry that we weren't able to do it live here in our conference room, but hopefully we're still able to get a bunch out of this. I appreciate everybody for joining. Again, my name's Raji B, That Bald Guy, so you can find me on YouTube. Make sure that when you do go to YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe. I will be here every Monday morning at 8:30. We were a couple minutes late this morning. I had to figure out the Facebook piece on the dashboard. There's a different way we're doing it now. Wasn't too happy with the way it turned out last week anyway. But if anybody has comments, again, leave them below. Find your why. Be passionate. What if you do? Your 3 Ps. We talked about it. Rewatch it if you're just now jumping in. Be safe. Be blessed. Everybody have a wonderful week. Go get them.